Well, thank you everyone for joining us. We're really excited to have you here today with us. My name's Glennon, and I'm the STEAM Program Director at the CDE Foundation. And you just heard from Karen, who's my STEAM teammate at the CDE Foundation. And we're so excited to have you join us today. And we're really excited to have people calling in from all over California. I saw Union City, I saw Castro Valley, Long Beach, Redwood City. So if you're just joining us, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. Let us know where you're calling in from. Jessie is our chat moderator, and she just dropped the link to the slides for today's session in the chat as well. And I'm going to share my screen here, and we're going to get started. So give me one second. So today we're talking about empowering students with website creation tools with Wix Education, and we're really excited to welcome Saskia and Yasi and the Wix Education team um, to Lunch Bites, and also excited to see some other folks chiming in the chat: Mount Shasta, San Diego County, San Francisco, Moreno Valley. Great to see everyone and see California so well represented. A couple of housekeeping items. Everyone's welcome. Please make sure you're on mute and assume the best intentions. And Jesse put the link to the slides in the chat. We'll pause here. I know a few people have already responded to this because we were doing this as a little bit of our pre-roll, but would love a reflection on which image is resonating with you or which image are you feeling like today. Welcome Marie from Oceanside. And Yossi, I forgot to mention, is calling in from Tel Aviv, Israel. So it's really exciting to have both national and international representation on this call today. So I'll give it about a minute to reflect on this. I know personally, I really enjoy that all four of these images are artists of their own kind. And it's just kind of a matter of which form of art is representing you today. Somebody mentioned improvisation, and so I do feel that both the saxophonist and the pottery wheel require improvisation. So with that, feel free to chime in the chat, but we'll move along. First and foremost, we always want to thank our partner from the beginning of all of our activities, the human energy company Chevron. They've been such a great partner. For those of you that are active on social media, please feel free to share what you're learning or how you're learning via these hashtags or tweet us at the CDE Foundation. We love to hear how you're using things. And I'm going to pass it over to Karen to talk about our goals.
So we're really glad to have you. Excuse me. I'm so excited. I got all choked up. And we're excited to have all of you here. And this is our first Lunch Bites webinar of 2021. So thanks for kicking this off with us. As always, we're going to be able to have something at the end of this that's a takeaway for you that you can use hopefully right away in your setting. And we also will be able to have time to have you go off mute and ask questions. You're always welcome to ask questions in the chat, and we will be sharing resources with you. So welcome. We're really glad you're here, and we hope you find this very useful for what you're needing. So let's get this started right away. As Glennon mentioned, we have Saskia Leggett here with us, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Saskia, so you can let us know a little bit more about your role and what you're bringing today.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Let me just get my screen ready to go. Okay, then move you all around. Cool. Can everyone see this okay? Okay, great. Welcome. I'm so excited to be here and meet you all and get to know a little bit how you're feeling in the chat. So this session is about empowering students as web creators with Wix Education. So to start off, I'd love to just tell you a little bit about who I am. I don't think I've met anyone on this call before, so it's really great to meet you now. My name is Saskia, and I design creative learning experiences with Wix Education. I'm also the education programs lead, so kind of have my hands in all these different projects in Wix Education. And prior to working with Wix, I worked at the Scratch Foundation, focusing on empowering students as creators with technology. So really excited to bring that into the web creation space. And before all of this, I was a middle school technology teacher. So really excited to meet other folks in similar spaces. And I'm also based in California, which I think I already said in the chat. So just a little preview of what we'll be going through today. We'll be spending a little bit of time setting the scene, kind of understanding the why behind the space that we'll be chatting about today. And then we'll move into what can creating with the web look like. And then finally, some ideas for how to get started using our free tools with Wix Education, and a little bit of time for Q&A. I'll also stick around at the end if anyone has any extra questions or wants to go through anything in more detail. So if you've got that time, I'd love to spend it with you. Okay, so let's dive into part one. And I wanted to kick us off with this quote from Tim Berners-Lee, who's the inventor of the World Wide Web. And he said, "When something is such a creative medium as the web, the limits to it are our imagination." And this is a really grounding quote for us at Wix Education, because we think of the web as a creative medium, but also a technology that is growing and expanding. But this quote also brings up the question of who gets to create. And when the web was first invented, the answer was coders, or people who knew how to code on the web. But that is expanding, that definition is expanding too, so that everyone can bring their ideas to life regardless of their coding level. And our ultimate goal here for everyone, but especially for students, is to get to a place where students are creators of technologies, not just consumers of the technologies around them. And that is whether they are building portfolios to showcase their work or their creations, or creating websites about causes that they care about, or bringing their small businesses to light. And I really like quotes. We're going to do a few quotes today together. So I think all of this becomes really salient with this quote from Professor Mitchell Resnick, who's one of the founders of Scratch, and this is from his book, Lifelong Kindergarten. And he writes that roughly 2/3 of today's grade school students will end up doing work that hasn't been invented yet. So for people to flourish in this rapidly changing landscape, the ability to think and act creatively is more important than ever before. So we see web creation, like all technology, as a tool in your students' toolkits for this kind of creative thinking that they can use to design and invent their own futures. So with those ideas in mind, that brings us to part two. What can creating with the web look like? So in case anyone's not familiar with Wix, I wanted to start here. Wix is a professional website building platform built on the belief that anyone should be able to bring their dreams online. We are a professional company. We've got about 200 million folks around the world using Wix to bring their small businesses, bring their portfolios, bring their ideas to life with the web. And so these tools that we'll be checking out are industry standard. And Wix Education, which is the team that I work on, practically is a platform and a suite of curricula for teaching web creation, web design, and web development in your classroom for free. So we'll be spending some time kind of exploring what the Wix Education platform looks like and how you might use this in your classroom. But before we do that, I wanted to focus a little bit on our pedagogical approaches, because it's not just the what that we're teaching in our classroom that's important, but also the how. I could talk about this slide all day, so I'll try to be brief with it. But our big goal for all of the materials that we created, whether it's our curriculum or activities, any resource, is to nurture creativity with technology. So we approached all of these things that we created with this idea of low floor, high ceiling, wide walls. Low floor is that anyone can get started right away, regardless of their level, regardless of their familiarity with the web. High ceiling means that they can get really complex with their creations, take them to professional limits, add in custom code, really bring their ideas to life in big ways. And wide walls is that we're not just catering to one type of student, but trying to appeal to all kinds of students, regardless of their interests, regardless of their background, so that they can create sites for anything that they'd like to do, not just kind of one kind of site. All of our materials are open-ended but guided, that are project-based and encourage problem solving and agency. So the way that we've structured our activities are that everyone kind of starts in the same place, but they end up with vastly different projects that are really exciting to see when students get to bring their personalities and the things that they care about into their work. And we also wrote all of our materials with inclusive and culturally responsive practices in mind, which I'm very excited about. So students have a lot of opportunities to think about their backgrounds, their heritage, to share that with their peers, to share that with their creations. And we're also, of course, encouraging student creativity and self-expression every step of the way in this process. So instead of me talking to you about creativity for a half hour, we thought that it was important that we get creative as a group as well. So we're going to do a small activity from our web creation curriculum. And this is an activity that is meant to get students kind of in the mindset of different parts of a website, to get inspired for the things that they might bring to their own websites, to get familiar with terms that they might have not known before. So rather than just kind of like looking at a worksheet, we created a bingo game. So we're going to be playing a round or maybe two, depending on time, of this game with you all. So the way that this works, I'm going to share a link in the chat.
Yeah, Jesse already dropped the link in the chat for you.
Oh, great. Okay, cool. I am going to pull up the chat then, so to make sure that that's there. Awesome. So if you click on this link that's in the chat, which I'll do on my screen, it'll take you to a website that we built with Wix. That's basically a virtual bingo board. So every time that you refresh this page, a new combination of terms comes up on the board. And if you get 3 in a row, so like this, then you've received bingo, you won bingo. And I wish I could be there in person to have some sort of fun thing to give out. But we've got some fun gifts to reward ourselves in this context. So the way that this is going to work for us is that I'd love for everyone to click on this link to get a bingo board up on their screen. If you just kind of want to follow along and watch, that's totally okay too. And I'm going to share one of my favorite Wix sites. This is a site from an artist, and I love that his site really reflects his playful spirit and has a lot of cool elements of sites going on, or elements of a website going on his site. So what I usually do with this game is everyone has their bingo board, and then I'll show the site, but you can also check out this site as well if that works better for you. So I'll drop this into the chat as well. Oh, okay. I'm seeing some questions too, which I'll get to in a moment. So this is a link to John Bergerman's site. And basically, you're going to have your bingo board up on one side, the site up on another side, and see if you can see elements in your bingo board that are here. So maybe Glennon and Karen, you might help me out with your own boards, pointing out some stuff that you're seeing. And if anyone gets bingo, you can unmute your mic, say bingo, or you can write in the chat that you've gotten bingo.
Sounds great.
That sounds great. I'm competitive, Glennon, so I'm here at the ready.
So on my page, I see a home page. So that's definitely what I'm seeing there. I'm also seeing what I believe is a sticky header, and that the toolbar at the top is there. I see a horizontal menu, which is that toolbar. And what else do we have? Oh, a welcome message. I got bingo. Come on, I can't be the winner.
I got bingo. I was just listening to you, Glennon.
Okay.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Okay, so maybe we can play a round of blackout and see if anyone can get all of the elements on their bingo cards.
So don't refresh your page. Just keep your current page and see if you can get all the elements. What am I still looking for?
I've only got one yet because you had horizontal and I had vertical menu, and I'm like, oh, yeah. I'm looking for map and Q&A and split screen. So I don't know, is split screen where it's like this, or does it have to be?
It's usually down the middle, so there's kind of two things going on the left and the right, which I'm kind of seeing here. I could feel like this could be a split screen.
I think that counts.
Is anyone else getting bingo?
Missing 2.
Okay.
Yeah, if you click
What are you missing?
FAQ, that would be really awesome for me.
Subtitle and strips.
I could go with what I've seen on my screen right here as a subtitle. It's kind of like a caption, but we can we can bend it a little bit for bingo.
What's considered strips then?
Oh,
Maybe I
so
don't know.
strips in Wix that I would be helpful to explain, which is why this game gets helpful in the curriculum. Strips are actually these like horizontal parts of the site. So if you can see my screen when I'm scrolling, this like blue and this couch thing is one strip. And then as I scroll, I go into this events strip, which is the next strip. So this site has a lot of strips going on.
And in the chat, there's a couple questions in the chat. So Nora, we're all playing on one tab of ourselves. So if you get bingo, feel free to share it out. And then Chelsea was asking about a sticky header and what that is.
Great question. A sticky header is actually on the site. So that means that when I'm scrolling, this blue header on the top stays in the same place. So it doesn't like fade out. It doesn't turn into something else. It's like sticky. So it's sticking to the top. Map might refer to like if there's a Google map somewhere on the site.
Well, with those explanations, I do have my card full.
Nice job.
Great. Who was
Rosa.
that speaking? I couldn't see.
Right.
Awesome. Well done, Rosa. Okay, cool. So let's do one more round with another site. So what I'd love for you to do is go to your bingo board and click refresh so that a whole new board comes up. And then I'll pull up another site. Let's do this one. So this is Izzy Wheels. I'll also drop it into the chat. This is another one of my favorite Wix sites. So let's just go for 3 in a row, so you don't have to get all blackout. So I can scroll slowly on my screen if that works better for you, or you can check it out on your browser and let me know if you get bingo.
I'm getting close. Are there others out there?
I have a question about what is frame? Because I may have it, but I'm not quite sure what frame is.
Frame in this context could be a few things, but it's like if there's like a frame around an image or like a border. So I'm not seeing frames scrolling, but maybe there's something I'm not seeing.
Okay.
Can we consider the store to be similar to services? I mean, it depends on if you're selling material things or if you're selling.
Like, yes.
Okay, then I have bingo.
Awesome. Well done.
So, because we got paragraph,
cool.
colorful, and service menu. So
Great.
it's definitely colorful.
Yes, this is a super colorful site. I'm wondering if anyone has any questions about like elements that you're seeing that you're not sure about, but we can also just stop here and move on.
Yeah, I would say if you have any questions about some of the elements or anything, please feel free to chop them into the chat. I see Jesse has asked, what would a light box be?
Oh, yeah. And Kelly too. A light box in Wix is if you see like a pop-up come up that's like join our newsletter or something that you have to click out of in the site. Okay, so let's pause the game here because we only have 10 minutes left, but happy to play more bingo rounds with folks if they'd like to. And so I'm going to go back to our presentation and back to present mode. Thanks for playing bingo with me. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Let's go to the next slide. Okay. And let's take a look at Wix Education itself. And we're going to spend a little bit of time going through the platform, kind of seeing where this activity would be in the context of a curriculum. And then I'll stick around for any questions that might come up too. So Wix Education right now has 3 curricula available. So we've got an intro course, a web creation course, a web design course, and we're currently writing a web development course that's based on Wix's coding platform called Velo. That's a JavaScript-based platform. So I'm going to navigate away from my presentation and jump into the Wix site here. So this is the Wix Education Platform, which I mentioned has these courses within it, which we'll take a look at, and then also has a way for you to see the sites that your students are creating. So I'll also show you that. So
Sasuke,
this is
just real quick. I think it's important that we call out that at the very top of your site, it even says it, that this is in beta format. And to gain access to this, there is a quick sign up process, which will then you'll get your access granted and be able to get into the program. But we were really excited when Wix approached us about sharing something that is new and being tested with our education community, because we think that our group can provide wonderful feedback and be good testers in addition to what is here. So carry on.
Yeah, thanks, Glennon. That's perfect. So we're in beta format right now. So exactly what you just said, we can kind of get to know the educators that are using our curriculum, get your ideas, get your feedback, see what's working, see what's not working, before we open this up to the greater public later this year. So there is a really quick sign up process. We just want to make sure that your students are 13 and older, because our platform is FERPA compliant. So we're protecting student data in this process. So if you'd like to join us, I'll give you some info about that. But it should be a very quick sign up process. So on our Wix Education beta site, we have this courses and resources section with these 3 courses. So the intro course is the foundations of working with Wix. So you learn about things like strips. You learn about the different elements that go into building a site, a little bit of web safety. I'm going to jump ahead here and go to web design. This course is all about the visual elements of putting a design together. So students are exploring like color theory, typography, animation, branding, and making mood boards. And web creation is a course that goes through the user experience process of putting a website together. So I'm just going to scroll down here. So students start with like creating personas. They think about or research, finding other inspiration for their sites. They put together site maps. So this is kind of a more like professional style approach to putting a website together. And each of our lessons are designed to be about 45 minutes each. They can be shortened and lengthened. You can kind of go through and see what works best for your students. But I wanted to show you a few examples of what a typical lesson looks like. So this lesson is called Your Site is Not a Poster, and it's all about making your site immersive and engaging, so something that's more than just like a digital piece of paper. And all our lessons come with a lesson plan that's basically a Google Doc that's broken down into 3 sections. So there's always a section for your students to explore the idea at hand, so to do some sort of activity together. There's a section for creating. So this is when they get hands-on and actually get to try out the ideas that they learned about in the explore section. And then ideas for sharing and reflecting, extending if you or your students want to learn more, and all of the ISTE standards that we're aligned with. And all of this curriculum has the ISTE seal of alignment. All of our lessons also have Google slide presentations that we created just to kind of take some of the weight off of you. So this has all of the examples that we point to in the lesson, some ideas for exploring more. So basically this is just lesson plan in Google slide format. And then a lot of the lessons have what we call side-by-side activities. So these are basically modified versions of the Wix editor that are catered to the specific lesson. So this one's loading right now. And it's basically a template with this guide on the side that pops out here and walks your students through the steps for kind of getting familiar. So again, this lesson is all about making your site something immersive and engaging. So we're just going to go through a few steps to kind of understand what that process looks like. So first I press get started. And the first step of my activity here is to hit preview, so I can see what this site looks like before I start manipulating it. So I've got this cool video background. I've got some animation, a video, some like hover effects if I move over these images. And then if I go back to editor and then click mark as done for step 1, that of course brings me to step 2, where I'm prompted to replace the video background. So I would click here based on my GIF, click on change strip background. And I have a number of options here. I can go through some sample backgrounds that are selected for me. I can search for more video backgrounds. So I can write something that's based on my interest. So I'd love for any suggestions from you all for something that I could search for to see if I can make that into a video background. This can be anything.
Oh, since Mars and space is on the top of my mind, unless there's somebody who has a hot topic, I would love to see just how would you do something on space?
Oh yeah, awesome. So let's try out this background. And Zoom is covering my tools here. There we go. Change background. So that should change my background. I love the space theme. Wondering if anyone has a title for this like sample movie trailer site that we're creating together that's aligned with space.
Zero gravity.
Oh, I like that. For some reason, Space Jam came into my mind first. But I like Zero Gravity. It seems like kind of a dramatic trailer. And so, I went ahead of myself. So we've gone 3 steps through this process, but just to show you quickly what that looks like, this is the new website that we very quickly made together. So it's got this video background, this new title. So students would kind of go through the rest of these steps to see what other interactive elements that they might bring to their own site. So that's a really quick preview of our courses, but we only have 2 minutes left. So I really want to make sure that I show you this other component of our platform, my classes. So as an educator, when you sign up for Wix Education, you can create classes for your students, which kind of gives you this bird's eye view of what they're doing with the sites that they're making. So you can create these like virtual classrooms, sign your students up to the platform so that they get enrolled basically under your account. And that gives you access to the sites that they make. So you can see the sites, you can edit their sites, you can unpublish or delete their sites if you need to. So this kind of gives you a little bit more organizational control over what your students are doing on this platform. And I think we've got 1 minute left. So I'm going to head back to our slides here and just go through a few quick takeaways. So if this is something that you'd like to try in your classroom, we would love to have you. So the link for signing up is wix.com/education. That'll lead you to a really quick sign up form. We basically look at your answers to make sure that your students are 13 plus. If you would like to join us, one recommendation would be if you have an existing Wix account that's like your personal account, to use a different account if you don't want your students' sites linked to your site. So maybe sign up with your school account or something that doesn't already have your personal sites. But if you're okay with having all your student sites in your account, that's fine too. And I always forget to emphasize this, but all of these materials and platform are free and designed for middle and high school students ages 13 plus. And finally, we love answering questions, kind of brainstorming with you, thinking about ways that this might work best in your classroom. So you can always email us at education@wix.com with any questions, anything that comes up. So with that, I would love to leave some time for Q&A, but I wanted to leave us on another quote that I love, which is, "The goal of the web is to serve humanity. We build it now so that those who come to it later will be able to create things that we ourselves cannot imagine." So I'm really excited to see what your students are creating and building as they're reimagining the web together and inventing their futures online. So thank you so much for this very quick presentation of Wix Education, and I'm happy to stick around for questions and see if anything came up in the chat as well.
Great. Well, Saskia, thanks so much. I'm going to share my screen real quick as we do our quick wrap up. And I dropped a link to our feedback survey. Please share your feedback through that survey. That really informs how we proceed with Lunch Bites going forward. I did see there is a good question in the chat for you about nonprofit partners, Saskia. So think about that for a second. And again, thank you to Chevron and to Wix for being here. Karen and I and our contact information is in our slide deck as well, as are the links to the Wix slides and resources. So with that, I'm going to stop my share. And thank you all for being here. And we're here for Q&A. And I saw the question from Sherry Griffin: are non-school connected academic nonprofits determined programs able to participate as well? So would a nonprofit school partner be able to participate in this platform?
Yeah, we do have some like after school, out of school programs that are using our curriculum. We did write it with a classroom in mind. That of course we put in some ideas for teaching virtually now that we're in this virtual space. But I would say as long as your students are 13 plus, that's definitely something. I would just write it in the application so that we get a heads up.
I saw that Kelly was very excited about how these resources are free. I'll also just add that, having looked at the resources ourselves, Karen and I were really impressed with the thought that went into them, the fact that almost all of them are project-based in some way, shape, or form. So there is a very much a hands-on or a virtual hands-on component to things. It's definitely a differentiator between other website platforms, that there is this really nice curriculum that is thought out and thoughtful. And Dana just applied, so that's great to see. Any other questions while we're here? We're at the end of our formal programming, but we're happy to stay on as long as there are questions. People can either type them into the chat or feel free to just come off mute and engage in a quick discussion with us. I see Kelly, did you come off mute?
I did. Excuse me, I have a question. First of all, thank you so much. It's my first lunch bite. Whoop, whoop. And
welcome.
I literally am biting lunch as we're doing this. So thank you for the name. I am an independent study school principal, and I'm so intrigued by this. And so is it okay to take the curriculum and then like adapt it to an independent study learning environment? Because even as we're going through, I think it's scripted enough that kids could definitely teach themselves in this process.
That's a really great question. I would say that our intro course is a little bit more suited for kind of like a student self-paced adaptation. But the other courses, the creation design, were really written with a facilitator in mind to just kind of introduce ideas, to go through examples together. And those aren't part of the side-by-side activities that I showed you. So I would probably recommend just taking a look at the curriculum, seeing if it makes sense. And if it does, then I'd love to learn how you are adapting it. So it would be cool to stay in touch.
Great, thank you so much.
And
sure.
Similarly, on that front, there's a question from Michelle about whether the resources will always be free. I think I know the answer to that, but I'll let you answer that. And Saskia, maybe you want to share some examples of how you've seen other classes or teachers use the resources in unique ways. So it's not only designing a website for the sake of designing a website, you've seen them use it for other purposes or other extensions, like a science teacher has used it for something. Do you want to share a few of those?
Definitely. So Michelle, yes, we would love to keep all these resources free. We're using the basic version of Wix, which is free for everyone, and our curriculum is also going to stay free. So the way that we wrote our curriculum is basically that anyone in any classroom can create or have students create a site regardless of the context or the project. So we're seeing a lot of course, folks in like technology and computer classrooms hook onto the curriculum really quickly. But we'd also would love to see folks like in science classrooms and math classrooms who are helping students create websites to show off their ideas for a final project or as a portfolio where they're keeping track of all their work together. So we really designed this with kind of like a classroom agnostic point of view in mind, and would really love to see other classrooms bring web creation into their curriculum. So kind of, you know, instead of doing a PowerPoint or instead of writing a paper, a website as a project-based way to display what you know.
Excellent.
You know, I want to add on to that, Saskia, that I attended a webinar earlier this week. There's some brand new published research findings about project-based learning and how it really can help us with those students who are not reading at grade level, that they, with this kind of project-based learning, that they're able to access it, get creative, and then when they are tested against their peers, there was like 8-point difference, and it was really amazing how you would think that, well, you need to be able to read at a certain level in order to do this, but that wasn't the case. That project-based learning brings a lot of benefits to all students.
Thanks for sharing that.
That's awesome to hear.
Yeah, and thanks, Sherry, for submitting your form. We're excited. I know Saskia is excited. We're here for more questions, and I did drop the link to the feedback survey back in the chat again. We'd love to have your feedback on this session. It really informs us how we're doing and where to go in the future. And we'll hang out here for another minute or two if there are additional questions, but otherwise we're at the end of our programming. Saskia, is there any last tidbit of information that's coming to mind that you really wanted to share?
I think that we covered a lot of it. I did go really fast with the platform, so I'd be happy to share my screen again and walk through some of the components if there's any confusion there. Or feel free to schedule a one-on-one with me. I'll drop the email again in the chat. It's education@wix.com. I sent that. I meant to send that to everyone. Okay, let's try that again. I really mean it when I say I love doing one-on-one meetings with educators. So if you have like even just a small question that you'd like to walk through with me, feel free to reach out anytime. I'll also put my personal email in the chat too.
And if I remember, I mean, the guides are pretty straightforward, but were there also how-tos for educators, or is that embedded into the guides? Can you remind me?
You're asking all the right questions. So each of our courses has a curriculum guide as well. So that has some pacing ideas for different timelines you might be working with, some ideas for setting up your classroom if you'd like to, you know, get festive before you dive in. Some really practical tips for setting up your accounts. So I would definitely start there. If I can share my screen again, I can show you where that's at, but it is, I've lost the website. Oh, I found the website. Okay. So there we go. So if you go to any of the courses and just in this first like green section, the curriculum guide is here. So this is just another Google Doc that kind of points out through some of the ideas that I just talked through.
Excellent. Well, thank you, everyone. If there aren't any additional questions, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. But you know how to reach us. Our contact information is in the various slides that we provided. Saskia has been very generous and provided her direct information, and want to thank you for being here with us. I know some of this is your first time, and we really enjoyed having you and hope to see you again in the future. we hope everyone has a great day and enjoys the rest of the week. Take care, everyone.
Great to meet you.